Good afternoon. This is Ben Davis from BJU Press, and today on this Facebook Live event, we want to have the opportunity to answer any of your curriculum questions. And to get us started, I have a few frequently asked questions here with me that might help you as you get started on your school year. To give you a little bit of background on me, I am a homeschool graduate. My parents homeschooled me from the time I was 5 until I graduated from high school. When I got out of college, I started working at BJU Press, and I've been here for 7 years. It's been fantastic to be working for a homeschool publishing company. I've been really enjoying that. But what we want to do today is not really to talk about me so much and my background, but to take your curriculum questions. And I have a few frequently asked questions here. And while my wife and I have been homeschooling for a few years, I'll reference a few of those experiences, but we want to hear from you. If you have any questions, go ahead and add your question to the comments, and we'll try and get to as many of those questions as we can today. If you feel more comfortable, you can private message us as well. And we're going to go ahead and take as many of these questions as we can today. If we can't get to your question today, we are holding another Facebook Live event on September 8th. But let's go ahead and jump into some of these frequently asked questions. The first one that I have here is, what do I do with all of the boxes when they come in the mail? And there are a lot of boxes. My wife and I received 9 boxes this year, and that's for one child, for one grade. But don't be overwhelmed. There are a lot of materials, but you don't have to use them all in 1 month. The good news is this is all the materials you need for the year. There's 180 lessons. You take one bite at a time, and you're able to move through the material at your pace, and hopefully you'll have a really great experience with that. Now, the thing I would advise you to do is, as you're unpacking, use the packing slip. Just make sure that you have everything there, and if you have anything that you need to check with customer service, you can do that, and they'll make sure you're taken care of. But one final thing that I encourage you to do as you're unboxing your materials is enjoy it. It's so much fun to do. I always enjoy doing it with my wife and my daughter, and we have a great time sharing illustrations and looking at photographs and looking at the fun stories that she'll be reading. We are taking a look at the science concepts we'll be covering, as well as history. And what that does is get our daughter excited about learning. It begins and unlocks the learning process by creating curiosity about what she's going to be learning in the next year. And it's within the context of something that's very fun and interesting. So what we would encourage you to do as you unbox is just remember, don't be overwhelmed, enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. In case you're just joining us right now, my name is Ben Davis from BJU Press, and what we want to do today is take your homeschool curriculum questions. If you have any of those, go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll also be able to take any private messages you have as well. If you're curious, my wife and I made an unboxing video, and you can see the link there in the comments if you're interested in seeing what we did and the experience we had this past year. The next question that I have here is, how do I organize my materials? And what I want to say is that every family is different. Your house is different, your living situation is different, and you need to find something that works for you. So I would encourage you to consider that, try a few things. Some things are going to work better than others, and just incorporate the things that work well and try and adjust the things that don't. I know that in our first year we had some things that worked really well. For instance, we put our homeschooling space in the back of the dining room, and that worked very well. It had all of our materials in one place, the parent materials, the child's materials, our distance learning materials, all really tight there, worked well. And then there were some other things that didn't work so well, and we've made adjustments, and I think you'll find that as well. One thing that you're going to want to keep in mind as you're organizing is your distance learning materials. If you're using BJU Press Distance Learning, there are printed materials that come for the parent, and there are some that come for the child. And for our family, we have 3 distance learning courses for our daughter. That's English, Science, and Bible. And because of that, we are able to put all of those materials into one 3-ring binder. These materials come shrink wrapped and 3-hole punch, so it's really easy to put it in there. And we divide up the courses with tabs, so my daughter has everything that she needs to service herself right there in that notebook. And then in a separate notebook, we put the parent materials where we have our video lesson guides, and also we have the ability to keep our answer keys there so we can check our daughter's work and have all of that available. One final piece that's really important to organizing your materials, and that is your math manipulatives. If you're using BJU Press Homeschool Math, then you're going to want to have the manipulative packet. The manipulatives are so important to learning math. Before any child starts answering questions in a workbook or trying to work on some math facts, they really need to begin with understanding. And that begins with touching physical objects, moving them around, seeing what the math looks like in real life. And so the manipulatives are very, very important to that. So really encourage you to organize those well. You want to have those manipulatives available when you start your lesson. And we've just found that our kids enjoy playing with the manipulatives, and that's another reason we need to keep them organized in a good place so that they're available for the lesson. Now, if you're interested to see a little bit about how we handle organization of our materials in our homeschool, my wife has created a video, and we can put a link to that in the comments if you're interested in seeing what our humble homeschool space looks like. In case you're just joining us, my name is Ben Davis, and really enjoying taking some time here today to answer your homeschool questions. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put your question into the comments, and we'll try and answer as many of your questions as possible. Let's see here, we just got one about, is there a way to get answer keys with the amount of points each question is worth for all subjects? We don't have like a whole curriculum-wide answer key like that, but what we do want to encourage you is that the answer keys are available. You can get those in a printed format. And the other thing, we don't really have a point total that we assign to each one, because we feel like that's something that a parent gets to decide for their own child. So we want to encourage you that if you think that a question is particularly challenging and you want to be able to make that a larger number of points, that's fine. I know sometimes we're looking at our daughter's work, and we feel like, hey, you know, because of the challengingness of this project, we're going to make it a higher number of points. And there are other times where we feel like she really has the material down, and we say, hey, listen, the back page of this work page, you don't need to do that today. You just need to do the front page. So we encourage you to, you know, be the master of the curriculum as the parent. You really are in charge, and you can use it in a way that it benefits your family. And what I would like to go ahead and do is then move on to our next frequently asked question, which is how do I organize my day? And I think this is where the rubber meets the road, where you're able to really take those big boxes of materials and turn it into daily learning that is going to equip your child for life in the future. So this is really a critical piece. The great news for us as parents is that BJU Press has created 2 different types of documents that help you stay organized. One of those, if you're doing the parent-led teacher editions, is called the Lesson Plan Overviews. And those are in the front of all the Teacher's Edition. There's also a place on our website where you can reach all of the lesson plan overviews, and we will include a link to that if you're interested in that. But what these lesson plan overviews do is lay out the material day by day. Here's what you want to learn today. Here's the pages you want to cover. Here's the activities that you could do. And then it's all laid out there. And my wife and I do these kind of in different ways. My wife teaches the majority of the courses, and I'm kind of a history nerd. I really love history, so I've taken that course and I teach that one. What my wife does is she takes her lesson plan overviews and she transfers them to a scheduling book, a weekly planner, and she uses that to keep her on track during the day. What I do is when I come home from work, we have dinner, we have family worship, and then we get to pull out the history books, and at that point I'm looking at the lesson plan overview, and I find it's fantastic because it tells me everything I need to know for that lesson right there on the spot. And I can look at the activity and say, you know what, I don't think that activity is really going to benefit us tonight, or it's not going to work in our schedule tonight, so we're not going to do that tonight. I can make that call very quickly because of the lesson plan overview. And then what I do is once we're finished, we've covered what we're going to cover, I add that to my wife's overview book, her daily lesson planner, so that we have a record of what we covered. But the lesson plan overview, very helpful for these parent-led courses. Now, if you're using a distance learning course, there's something called a video lesson guide, and it's a lot like the lesson plan overview, but it's for the videos. And what it does is on day one, it tells you here's the video you're going to watch, or your child's going to watch, and here's the pages that need to be read, and here's the activities they need to do, and the work text pages they need to cover. And really what that does is it allows the child to take learning into their hands and really take ownership of it so they can be an independent learner, be an effective learner by themselves because they've got that plan in their hand. But one thing that we want to say about both of these plans, the video lesson guide and the lesson plan overview, is that they're there to help you. These are not marching orders. These are not orders that you have to follow in order for everything to work just perfectly. These are there to help you. And just keep in mind that the curriculum is there to serve you as a parent. You are not there to serve the curriculum. So if you find an activity, like my wife does, she says, you know, we don't have the materials for that activity, we're not going to do that one today, and she gets to make that call. And we tell our daughter, she looks at the video lesson guides, she says, you know, if mommy says we're not going to do that, then we're not going to do that. Or if mommy says we're going to do more than what the video lesson guide says, then that's what she does. So just keep that in mind. You're the parent. You get to make those decisions. You know best about what your child's needs are and what's going to work best for your family. So feel free to make any changes to those video lesson guide overviews or the lesson plan overviews. You are the one that gets to make those decisions. And in case you're just joining us here, my name is Ben Davis from BJU Press, and we wanted to take some time this afternoon to answer your homeschool curriculum questions. If you have any questions that you want us to answer, you can go ahead and put those into the comments. We are winding down here in our time, and if we don't get to all the questions that are submitted today, you can join us for our next Facebook Live, which will be on September 8th. And if you have any questions that you come up with during the next 2 weeks, go ahead and feel free to private message us or to post the question on our Facebook page, and we'll go ahead and prepare to answer those questions for you. But let's go ahead and move on to our last question today, which is, how do I teach multiple children? And this is something that as a family we're certainly looking at. We have multiple children, all daughters, and we are looking forward to that day when we're homeschooling multiples of them. But right now, we have one daughter that we're homeschooling, but then some younger daughters who are also need to be cared for. And so what we're doing is using BJU Press distance learning. BJU Press distance learning includes everything that your child needs to learn. It has everything that our daughter has needed. And what she's able to do is, with a video lesson guide, with videos that she can pause or rewind if she needs to cover material. Again, she's able to do all of that. It tells her what pages that she needs to read and what questions she needs to answer. And so she's able to take learning into her own hands. She's able to be an independent learner. Now, my wife is still the parent, and she can still step in and say, hey, I don't want you to do this lesson, or I do want you to do this one. My wife has the ultimate control. But because all the pieces are there, my daughter is able to be an independent learner. So if my wife needs to take care of our infant, my daughter can be watching Bible. If she's going to do an activity with our preschooler, our daughter's able to do English all by herself. Or she just needs to put on a little laundry or put a meal into the oven. She's able to have our daughter continue to learn even without her being there. And of course, with all learning, really the parent's still at the center, that relationship of trust and love that we have, encouraging her about all of her work and looking at her work and saying, you know, you're doing a great job, or I think you could be a little bit more careful on your work. Those are all really critical pieces. But the distance learning program has given my wife a lot of free time, or I shouldn't say free time, more time in order to take care of some of the other responsibilities she has, and our daughter is able to continue to get the learning that she needs. Another strategy that a lot of parents use when they're trying to teach multiple children is to couple two children in the same grade. And this is really an effective strategy. Just a thought on that is that it's usually better to hold an older child back and start them a little bit later than it is to take a younger child and skip them ahead. The studies on this have found that children who wait to start kindergarten until they're 6 or 7 tend to do better educationally all the way through high school. So your child's not going to be harmed. Don't let the pressure from overwhelming expectations, let's get our children to learn more and more younger and younger, to push your child into education sooner and sooner. Feel free to hold them back until the older or the younger child is ready to start kindergarten. This tends to work out really well, and then you have two children doing the same type of work at the same time. If you want to skip a younger child forward, that does have a little bit of risk involved. Sometimes a child does fine with that, but other times, you know, if let's say they're very good at math, and you say, hey, we can skip second grade math and then we can do math together with two children. That younger child might do just fine, but there's some material in second grade math that third grade math is going to expect them to know, and you might have a little bit of a gap there that could create some issues down the line. So would really encourage you, if you're thinking about coupling, it's a great strategy, but feel free to let that older child spend some more time playing and gaining life experience and maturity instead of rushing the younger child along. Well, I hope that what we've been able to do today has been helpful to you. If you know someone who would be benefited by some of the things we've covered today, feel free to share this video. What we want to also encourage you about is that we have been creating helps for homeschoolers. And we've been publishing a lot of those on our blogs. That's blog.bjupress.com. We cover a lot of topics like the kinds of topics we've covered today. And if you want to be able to read or keep up with what we're doing on Facebook and on our blog, if you sign up for our email, that's a really helpful way to get additional information on homeschooling and approaches to homeschooling to help your child. We will be live again on September 8th. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to post those on our Facebook page or to private message us. And if you have an urgent question, please feel free to let us know that, and we'll get an answer to you as quickly as possible. But until then, we look forward to seeing you again on September 8th. Have a good afternoon.